on church town, there's a gold dirt road to a whole lot of nothing. Got a deed to the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country. We pray for rain and thank him when it's falling, 'cause it brings a grain and a little bit of money. We put it back in a plate, I guess that's why they call it God's country. I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting baptized in holy water and shine with the dogs running. Saved by the sound of a pin-found Dixie whistle in the wind, that'll get you heaven bound. The devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country. We turn the dirt and work until the week's done. We take a break and break bread on Sunday, then do it all again, 'cause we're proud to be from God's country. I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting baptized in holy water and shine with the dogs running. Saved by the sound of a pin-found Dixie whistle in the wind, that'll get you heaven bound. The devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country. God's country. I don't care what my headstone reads or what kind of pine wood box I end up in. When it's my time, lay me 6 feet deep in God's country. I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting baptized in holy water and shine with the dogs running. Saved by the sound of a pin-found Dixie whistle in the wind, that'll get you heaven bound. The devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country. Yeah, I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting baptized in holy water and shine with the dogs running. Saved by the sound of a pin-found Dixie whistle in the wind, that'll get you heaven bound. The devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country.
Guys, I don't know about you, man, but you know what? That song still fires me up.
Yeah.
Man, God's country. You know what I mean? Man,
Yeah.
that song fires me up. Bobby, we're still waiting for Sal and for Doug to log on. But before they log on, as soon as they do, we'll let them on the show. Before they log on, we got our sister all the way from Riverside that's been with us from the very beginning. Buenas tardes, enjoying some nice cold ice water with lime. That sounds delicious. Ceci, we got San Diego PD gang and robbery detective legend with San Diego PD, Chris Kilby, 1097. For those that don't know the 10 codes, that means he's arrived and present and ready to rock and roll. And we got our brother all the way, Jim to Janice, all the way from Thailand. And brother Jim, I'm telling you, this last episode that you put up, I believe 4 days ago, about the escape while you were working, I think you only had like 3 days on at Susanville. That was a great episode, brought back a lot of memories of when my first date. I think I wrote them on your comments. You guys get a chance, follow Jim DeJanis, Batman. Great episodes he posts once a week. We also got our brother that's been with us from the very beginning, BJ Juarez. Greetings from Long Beach, brothers. Blessing to all. And I know you're drinking water because you're on the job right now. Guys, with that said, Sean, let's start off with you. What are you drinking? Dude, you came on the show because you were going to smoke cigars with us. Look at me. I'm outside smoking a cigar. What happened?
Okay. In my defense, and I know Benny's going to probably bust my you-know-what over this. It's freaking hot outside, dude. So anyways, next week. But hey, I want to put out a quick shout-out to my grandson, Eli. He's up in Butte County working for CCC, the California Conservation Corps. and he just sent me a text message saying that he only started like a couple of months ago, and he just got selected to be on the the chainsaw team. And I'm real proud of him, and good on you, and just be safe. But,
hey, brother, you know what? I watched that. My wife's favorite show is Fire Country.
Yeah.
And I know she doesn't watch it because of the show. She watches it because of the movie star that's in it. You know? So, hey, blessings to your grandson, man.
Oh, thanks, bro. Hey, so it was my birthday a few weeks ago, and I went down to my buddy, my pal's house the other day, Mike Rubio, and he bought me a bottle of Buffalo Trace. So that's what I'm drinking right now, and dude, it is nice and smooth. I think this is going to be my new go-to drink, and I think they do sell it at Costco.
You know they do, Sean. So is it? Do you put a little bit of water in it? Describe. Is it strong? How is it?
You know what? It's really smooth. I got the ice ball in it right now, but it's got a nice smooth taste to it. I like it. It doesn't burn like some of those whiskeys and bourbons do, but it's nice and smooth. It's got a nice taste to it.
Bobby, have you ever had that Buffalo Trace?
Yes, I love it. It's really good.
Is it good stuff? Good stuff. Yeah.
My son-in-law has a nice bar. Before he left, the one that's a fighter pilot, and they have these parties, and all the fighter pilots show up with a bottle. And I tried it there, and I was like, "Wow, this is really good." Just to drink it like that, or with a little bit of ice. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And Bobby, before you tell us what you're smoking and drinking, we got Cocaine Cowboys. We got Chris Hastings watching us all the way from the Philippines. Thank you, mi hermano, and thank you for pushing our show. I'm a huge follower of yours, and I think Bobby is too on X. And you're always giving us a big thumbs up on X. Thank you, Chris. Mil gracias. Bobby, what are you smoking, and what are you drinking, my brother?
Smoking, just grabbed it out of my humidor. The New World by AJ Fernandez.
I love that cigar.
That's
one of my favorite cigars
right there. And I'm drinking. I just sat down. It's 108 here today in Phoenix. So I got a chilled bottle of the Siete Leguas tequila, the Reposado. I love this. So I'm going to pour myself a shot.
And you mean a glass full?
A glass.
He's still going.
That's it.
Hey, and tell me, how does that taste? Is it strong? How is it? I know it's a sipping. Is that from Mexico? From what part of Mexico? Guadalajara?
It's Guadalajara. It's when I was working in Mexico, I was the Secretario de Seguridad Pública in Monterrey. Sent me to a place there in Guadalajara and says, "Tell them I sent you." Man, they hooked me up, and this is what they were drinking, and that's when I got turned on to Siete Leguas. They have I like the Reposado, and it's no additives, none of that other stuff. It's it's a organic, which the way it should be. You should be drinking the tequila that they put all the other stuff in there that makes it taste sweet or gives it other flavors. You just taste that roasted agave. That's what you taste.
Oh, I'm salivating.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we also got Alex Pacheco. You know what? We should have had Alex on tonight, especially the topic that we're going to be talking about. He was the commander with the Border Patrol. I mean, this guy is outstanding. He's been on our show. Hi guys, keep up the great work highlighting these heroes. Thank you, brother. We're going to be having you on hopefully very soon, Alex. We miss you, and thank you for also pushing our show. Guys, today I finally got an opportunity to sit outside. Actually, I wanted to sit outside in my backyard, but it's pouring down rain. So I fixed up my garage real quick. That's why we're running a little late. And today I'm smoking one of my favorite cigars. It's an Oliva Cinco. Oliva Cinco cigar. It's a smooth cigar. I know, Bobby, you've tried this cigar. It's a very smooth cigar. Oh, you got one too, Oliva Cinco?
That's nice.
Okay, very smooth cigar. And you know what? It's perfect with the Balvenie 14, and it's the Caribbean cask. I got this 2 weeks ago at Costco. I should be a spokesman for Costco. But I'm telling you, I got this bottle. I believe it's a 14-year bottle. Usually 14s go, I'd say about $114. Guys, I got it, I believe, for $69. It was a great deal. And, I'm telling you, outstanding drink. With that said, salud, gentlemen, to an outstanding episode today. Salud, great cigar. Ahí vamos. And guys, it looks like, we'll wait for Doug to come back on. As soon as he comes back on, I'll let him in. Guys, with that said, I know, Bobby, you had an invited guest and he canceled, but it's okay. Take it from here. The show is all yours. I know you want to talk about the riots in LA, and hopefully people are going to jump in, give us their feedback. And Bobby, it's all yours. And we're having a cigar, we're having a great drink, and we're having a great conversation. Listo.
Yep. My original guest had a late grandson invite for graduation in LA. And I told him, well, he left yesterday. I said, maybe you can get into some of the unrest over there, jokingly, obviously. What I wanted to talk about, as cops, we see life through a different lens. But I think we could always have compassion. Obviously, a good cop should always have compassion.
Yes.
And I think one of the things we're seeing, which I saw during my career, a lot of times there was going to be some type of protest, whatever. The Phoenix Police Department had a unit that would go out and meet with the organizers and meet with, hey, listen, we want you to go out and we want you to have a safe environment where you can get your message out. You can bring out the media. We're going to here to make sure nothing bad happens, But what I've been seeing, and we started seeing even back then, the agitators will come in, and many times they will hijack these, which is going to be some type of gathering to protest something that happened. It could be against the police. Even if they're going to protest against us, we will always provide a point of contact that can go out. It's their right. It's a basic First Amendment right to gather and voice dissent, as long as it is peaceful, obviously.
Yeah.
So with our units, I never worked in any of those units, but I had friends that did. And
hey, Bobby, before you get into your unit, do you mind just explaining to people that are watching the show the First Amendment and what their rights are to protest, if you don't mind? This way we can all be on the same page when we quote the First Amendment. And Doug, welcome to the show, brother. You came on a couple of times. I clicked on you, and your picture wouldn't come up, but you're on.
I finally got there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the First Amendment is, and I'll just go very basic, otherwise we can go into a rabbit hole. But the premise that for something that we're talking about, it's a right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances, to address your grievances. It allows you to go out, you could, whether in print form, you could go talk on the radio, whatever, or you could meet in public. You can meet in public. Okay, you can meet in public, in a public location, and air your grievances. Whether it could be against our own something. I think that's yesterday's, right?
Yeah. Let me go ahead and take this off real quick. Give me a quick second. Here we go. Okay, go ahead, Bobby.
Yes, there's some exceptions. Mute yourself, Phil.
Yeah, I just muted him. Well,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, he's trying to get set up.
You'll have you introduce him after you explain this.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's just a basic right that allows us as citizens or anyone to go out and as long as it's peaceful and it's not inciting violence or it's not encouraging others to engage in violence, then you start crossing the line. And like I said, I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to try and go deep down that rabbit hole or anything else, because it could turn into a very lengthy conversation. There's so much case study, but the basic right as a cop, when I used to go to different celebrations, and a lot of the celebrations would happen where you would get people within the community would get up and start airing their grievances. And it's a thin line where you start getting to the point if you're going to start inciting violence. So us as a department, as a city officials, would meet with the organizers and say, we want you to come out. We want you to have a safe environment, air your grievances, whatever you want to do, get your message across, as long as it doesn't get to the point where we start having violence. And sadly, I think what happens, we see it all over, is yes. And what you see is a lot of these incidents, you get outside agitators that have nothing to do with the original protest, and they hijack it. And next thing you know, you have out of control, which I think we're seeing now. Anybody want to jump in before I introduce Saul to add anything else in?
You know what?
I think the key thing, Bobby, is what you just said, is you meet with the organizers and you don't come off as a hard ass. It's a working relationship, and you say, okay, here, if you want to protest, and voice your opinions, here are guidelines, as it were. You step out of those guidelines, and we're going to have to step in. I mean, I don't know how many times Doug, me, and Dave, and we handle all these protests in San Diego and these marches and stuff. And for the most part, once everything is cool, collected, until somebody starts stepping out. And like you said, it's these agitators, and they don't play by rules except for their own, and they will stir up the shit. And that's what starts all this stuff.
And you know what, Sean, you have a lot of experience. I remember clearly when I was working at Intel, we would, be in the crowd with the protesters, but you were always a lieutenant working Central Division. Yeah. And that's when they had all these, protests, whether it was police violence or police abuse or whatever the protests were. And you were always the one that was a liaison to them. So you have a lot of experience working with them until the Antifa, the anti-police get involved. But you have a lot of experience in that.
It's funny. I got assigned the May Day March, and it started in Chicano Park and was heading down to the Federal Building downtown. And the year before, apparently they had maybe 200 or 300 people. It was a small event. A week before our march kicked off, Arizona passed, I think, some assembly bill. I want to say it's 187, to be honest with you. And I ended up having 5,000 people show up.
Downtown San Diego.
Chicano Park to walk to the Federal Building. So, I had to ramp it up. I had to get motors involved. I had everybody and his brother involved that I could. And then the march is kicking off. They're walking through Barrio Logan. And just outside near Golden Hill, one of my sergeants goes on there and he goes, "Hey, we've got a skirmish going on." I said, "What do you mean you got a skirmish?" He goes, "It was the anarchists. They were carrying the black and red flag, right? Young kids." And I said, "Okay, what's going on?" He goes, "Some of the local youth, i.e. Market Street and Logan, they started acting up. And so Market Street and Logan took care of it for us. And they ended up going, the anarchist guys ended up leaving, getting in their BMWs and driving home with their tails between their legs. And everything was smooth all the way down to the federal courthouse. So it was.
It's funny you say that. As we go along, I want to talk about Compton locals, the gangsters, what they did in Compton. But we'll get into that. Bobby, go ahead and introduce our guest.
What I wanted to do is hit one more little part.
Go ahead, brother.
Law enforcement, obviously, if we have groups that we think there's a possibility there could be some violence, that there could be some players that could come in, or the group that's going to do the protest, we know they're going to use this to incite violence. We always have undercover officers within the groups. We have intel. We have snitches because we don't want to be caught flat-footed. So Saul Ayala is my guest that I invited. Saul Ayala has been previously on our show. He was the most tenured, or is the most tenured undercover officer in the history of Phoenix PD. I think he bought dope in 5 different decades, and is still doing a little bit of work. So we were partners. We've been friends since high school, and we worked undercover in narcotics together. But at the tail end of his career, he got to work the anarchist community. I think it was during the Occupy movement. So I just wanted to introduce him, and I remember some of the things he told me about how there's various groups in these anarchists, the communists, and all the different groups. Saul, just give a little explanation. What is it that you encountered, and how organized, the organization you saw? You mentioned transportation, food, everything.
Hey, I got into these guys purely by accident. I went as a backup for a young hippie looking guy that was supposed to fit in well with him, and he really wasn't interested. And I happened to strike up a conversation with, of all things, a dominatrix that was part of this anarchist group here in Phoenix. And turns out I ended up spending probably the worst 8 months of my life hanging out with these people for pretty much every day and every late into the night. But what I found, what really stuck out in my mind was the incredible naivety of these people. They just, I came up with the stupidest background story I could ever even imagine, and they bought it. And the strange thing of it though was that I was already in my 50s, so all these people they accepted me. And eventually, through Facebook, I did end up meeting what I would consider the leadership, the local leadership, which are in fact older people that have been anarchists, even though they claim they have no leadership. They do definitely have leadership. As far as planning activities, planning actions, the one that did stick out. Well, actually, I was hanging out with them before the Occupied movement started. In fact, the first Occupy meeting took place at the anarchist coffee shop. The anarchists themselves, which is very curious, they had very little use for the Occupy movement as far as the people, as they had very little use for the immigration movement. To them, the immigration movement, the Occupy movement were just opportunities for them to engage the police, to cause damage. So they went along. They did not like the anti-immigration movement because the anti-immigration movement is so it's a communist, socialist type of movement. And anarchists, they don't like government. Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, communist, a socialist, or whatever, they don't like it. They don't like any kind of government. So they're very anti the rhetoric that the immigration movement uses. However, they're very happy to march alongside or be in the background throwing rocks and things like that. But that is one thing that really stuck out. And I know that law enforcement often confuse the Occupy movement as an anarchist movement, but no. If you notice, the Occupy movement usually walked around with American flags, and they marched around with the American flag, things like that. You will never, ever see an anarchist waving an American flag, or any flag of any nation, or wearing any article of clothing that has anything like any kind of logo on it, like Adidas or anything. Even walking into the anarchist bookstore with a McDonald's cup would cause a problem. They are just so anti-corporation, anti anything. They're nuts, basically. They're all a bunch of nuts.
Hey, Sal, can you give us a profile of what these individuals, are they 18, 19, white males, black males? You described their clothing, but can you give us just a brief profile what these guys look like that are involved with this anarchy and are in LA right now with the groups that are protesting?
You'll have males and females starting in their teens, in mid-teens, early teens. Many of them are from wealthy families, and those are the ones that are going to be skateboarding, things like that, taking in backpacks full of rocks, piss bottles, things like that. The clothing, they love olive drab. They like to wear the olive drab mixed with the black, and they'll cover their face and stuff like that. The older guys will really kind of sit in the background and watch. They really won't get involved. What I have seen some of the older ones do is rush in and rescue somebody that was going to get arrested, like rush in, grab them, and take them away. But the leadership, the older guys, the background, and they look like nerds. They look like anything imaginable. They got long hair, short hair. They can wear suits. A couple of them I remember were business owners. It's a really weird group of people. It's hard to really pick them out. The only thing, yeah, you pick them out is the olive drab is one thing. The little Irish hats. They love Irish music. They'll sing that all the time. They love Irish bands, and they'll be in the background. They'll be the ones starting all the yelling. They'll be the ones start throwing things, and eventually the crowd will get into it because of them. But they really hope not to get arrested. They don't like going to jail.
And Sal, what about racially? Are you see Asians, Hispanics, blacks in the group also?
As far as people like Mexicans, I think I was probably the only one, but you do see Hispanics. Like you see, I saw Spaniards and I saw Argentines, some people from Mexico City, Asians, a few blacks, pretty much everything. I'd say mostly white kids, mostly by far, mostly white kids, but you do see every race. The two or three blacks that I met were extremely radical, very looking just out for a fight.
Were they like Black Panther type or Crips?
No, they were just black. They were just
college student looking nerds.
Yeah. But just you know what? I think mental health has a lot to do with the common.
Yeah.
No.
Dave, we had a core group, and I don't know if you were in CIU at the time. They were creating havoc left, right, and center in San Diego, and you could not talk to them. It was like, okay, it's one of these things. Well, I know you are, but what am I? That type of bullshit. And I had to deal with them. They protested against Circus Vargas until about the treatment of the animals at Circus Vargas, and then I referred them to the two big Samoan security guards that Circus Vargas had, and I went 10-8. I left. And then they apparently they went to the McDonald's up on University, went inside. We had them on film. They went inside McDonald's, was eating hamburgers, came out, grouped up, and then climbed up on the roof and laid out this big banner against McDonald's. I mean, we've got them on video eating hamburgers and stuff. And then they went and they protested down at HQ.
Sean, you should have sent them to the McDonald's at 28th and Boston in Logan Heights. That would have, and then you would have gone 10-8. Leave them there.
Yeah, but they went down. I had the mounted unit, the Balboa Park policing team, and we had 5 horses sitting out in front of HQ, and they were on the downhill side by the East Street side, and they were protesting against police violence and all this other stuff. And for those people out there that know anything about a horse, I'm standing there and I'm watching Randy Levitt sitting up on one of the horses, and this horse is huge. It's got a big barrel on him.
And Randy Levitt is 5'2". Randy Levitt is 5'2".
Oh, Randy's a little guy on top of this thing, right? And the horse's back legs start moving back and forth. I'm going, this is not going to be good. So he plants his feet and he starts urinating. Well, like dogs, some of the horses are alpha males, and we had another horse named Jake, and Jake looks over and says, "Hey, wait a minute, Splender's peeing. I got to pee too." And now we got up to 3 or 4 horses peeing at the same time, and it's all rushing down toward these kids. And they get up and they take off, and everybody knows, that deals with horses. Horse urine really stinks. So then I get a phone call from a local news reporter wanting to know why we ordered these horses to pee on these protesters. And I go, ma'am, the horse has a brain the size of a walnut. It's not like a dog where you give them an order to go. I mean, they just go when they go. And she wouldn't accept that. She, to this day, probably thinks that we ordered these horses to pee on these kids. And that's part of the problem too, huh, Saul? Because it's these reporters, they just have no clue about what we do. So,
hey, let me jump in. Oh, can I jump in real quick? I want to agree with Grant. I think the lion's share of this group. Obviously, the anarchists have that reputation. They look for the anarchists because they know they're the ones that are really going to start inciting a lot of violence. But also, there's like Grant says, we have revolutionary communists out there. You got your Marxists or your cultural Marxists that are running around out there, and it's a real movement. The signs that they're carrying are being paid for by a communist organization, and they're well funded. But yet I know I had talked to Saul about, I didn't know much about the anarchist movement, but he said they hate each other, but they become like Bloods and Crips. They get along for a common cause, is to hijack some of these protests and to raise havoc and cause trouble out there. But I got a lot of inside intel that I cannot share, but there's some really good intel out there of who these groups are. I hope that there's, right now as we speak, that if I was an investigator, I would start looking at that money, who is funding them, and start exploring the possibility of a RICO investigation, because this will continue until you could at least either, as you know, when drug investigations, we used to say disrupt or dismantle these organizations. Otherwise, this is going to go on till forever. It's going to go on forever.
Bobby, Big VJ Quad is also stated, they are being funded by billionaire who is aligned with the CCP. Yes. Follow the money trail. Exactly what you said. VJ Quad has just stated that earlier.
Yes.
When we were in SED, and I think Doug, remember we started doing all the anti-war protests?
Yeah.
Back in the day, and they got ugly. In fact, we cleared out the intersection at Front and Broadway. Ralph Garcia was my sergeant, and we moved the whole crowd up on the sidewalk until a ranking officer came back and told us to give them back the street. But that caused some issues. But anyways, one of the classes that we were privy to go to, they said to look for these types of things. Every single one of them, the backpack, and inside the backpack back in the day, they had inner tubes, cans of big bean cans and all that. Now they're using the frozen water bottles, but anything to launch stuff.
Yeah.
And you always saw the same people at every protest, whether it was the anti-war all the way to the Occupy. I saw the same people I saw at the anti-war protests, years later at Occupy. They're just, professional protesters.
Yes. Hey, Bobby, I have a question for Sal. Sal, you worked undercover with them. what was the end result of the undercover? Did you were you able, as part of your investigation, uncover a group that was very anti-cop and that actually tried to assault police officers during your time being undercover with these anarchist groups?
Um, they they would all, I mean, they're all prepared to assault police officers. What I uncovered was, what during the time I was there, the ALEC convention came to Phoenix, the big conservative planning convention. And what I uncovered, what I learned was how exactly how heavily organized they are nationwide. That is what came out, the best thing that came out of it. As far as a criminal nexus, nah, these guys are pretty, they're pretty worthless. But like you mentioned earlier, that we had some really nice cops that always try to talk to these kids, and it's like they turn into animals as soon as they see a police officer. I mean, they can be the nicest person you can imagine, but as soon as they see a police car, they lose their mind.
Yeah.
But for this ALEC convention, I was in on some of the planning meetings that they had. They had all the groups there. They had Occupy people at the planning meetings. They had immigration people. They had anarchists. The anarchists were in charge of the meeting. They actually had areas of they had AOs, and your AO, if you wanted to go to jail like an occupier, you stood in this area. If you didn't want to go to jail, you stood in this area. If you were gonna carry a stick or throw sticks, you stood in this area. They had it all planned out, and they had plane loads of people flying in. They were arranging overnight stays for a large amount of people that they had coming in from out of state for this ALEC convention. The day of the convention, they actually rented a limousine. They had a couple dress up in a tuxedo and a fancy dress and with a baby, tried to get in. But the Kirkland Resorts has a hot shot security team that caught those guys. But that's how far they went, trying to get a limousine into that resort where they had the convention, and busloads of out of state aggressive anarchists. A lot of them are wanted. The other thing that came out of this is my handler, who was a JTTF guy, and we concluded that putting these guys on no-fly lists is an important thing to do, and getting them unmasked, taking their picture, taking videos, putting the videos on the news, putting pictures up on the wall anywhere you can, because their anonymity means a great deal to them, and their ability to travel around the country means a great deal to them. But it was obvious that somebody was sending in a lot of money to do all this.
Hey, Sel, you're a pretty big guy. You're 6 feet, 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
You're a thick guy. I met you last year in person. Did they ever, because of your size, because being bilingual, I mean, you got that look, and we'll explain after the show why you have the mask on. You're still doing undercover work. I love that idea of no fly. That's a great idea. But did they ever want to use you as a bodyguard for them? Because I don't think there was many guys your size, right?
There was a few. A few of the older guys were pretty big. There was a few big guys that were hanging out there that were for a part of the immigration movement. What they did, they actually had a couple of them hit me up for guns. That's one thing. That's one thing. Anarchists are definitely not anti-gun. I always had a big issue being anti-police, anti-American. It was hard for me to get down with that rhetoric until all I ever did was badmouth Che Guevara and the communists and anti-gun people. And I mean, they never they never figured it out. I mean, that was my thing, is bad mouthing the communists and bad mouthing the anti-movement, because they're trying to take our guns away. And how do we defend ourselves from this oppressive government if we don't have any guns, which is, Second Amendment, so it wasn't
Reason
really.
we have it.
Yeah. I don't know if Sal, I don't know if your handlers and all that. One thing that we did learn from Occupy, it was right toward probably toward the end of it. They had taken over the Civic Center downtown San Diego, and there was a few diehards still hanging out, and we knew that they were going to have a march into the gas lamp, and we're just walking around and shooting the shit with whoever wanted to talk to us. But you were right. You talk to one person and they're the lead one day, and then the next day they have nothing to do with you, somebody else, right? So I was talking to some guy, and he had his laptop open, and said, "Everything going all right?" He goes, "Yeah, everything's chill. We're just getting ready for the march later on." I said, "Okay, we'll just escort you guys through there and all that." And all of a sudden, everybody in the Civic Center concourse started getting agitated. And I'm looking around thinking, okay, did one of the young officers start something here? So I went back to this one guy and I said, "Hey, dude, what's going on?" And he's looking at his laptop, and he goes, "Yeah, we're all upset now. We're all upset." And I said, "Why? Did we do something? What's going on?" He goes, No, we're supporting our brothers in Cairo." And I go, "Cairo, Egypt?" And I guess they had a protest in Cairo, Egypt, and these guys got all ramped up and started shit going on. So now I got to deal with shit from Cairo, Egypt. And it was just,
Sean, just so our viewers can understand, I know for a fact when you met these guys, you were in full uniform.
Oh,
You had your bars on, and these guys were bold enough to talk about a huge protest in Cairo in front of a cop with lieutenant bars on. They were that stupid to talk about that.
They were getting all ramped up, and I'm going, "Oh man, now I gotta get some more people over here just in case," because you don't know what they're gonna jump in on for their cause, and it was just
Jesus.
Yeah, any little victory is felt worldwide. They'll block a side street, and they'll put they'll use a big sign, and they'll stand it and spread it across the road and take video of it. And maybe it's up for 1 minute before the cops take it down, but they'll stream that worldwide, and all of these anarchists around the world will see that and they just love it. It's a big, huge. Look at what they did in Phoenix. Look at what we did. Our brothers did. Yeah. Any little thing.
And to your point about getting arrested, we arrested a whole bunch of people, took them over off to the side, and started at this one incident. We started writing them, a citation, and they looked at us like, "You're not taking me to jail? No, you're getting a cite. Here's your court date. Have a good day." And they wanted to get arrested. I had one young lady accuse one of our officers of sexual assault. And we took her off to one side, and another one of our sergeants who used to work in IA, he started interviewing her, and it was all bullshit. And he says, "Okay, well, I got your statement, turn him over to the deputies, and off to the bus she goes." And she goes, "You're not letting me go?" And they said, "No, you're going to jail." And they were taking him from downtown all the way up to the Vista jail, which is the North Capitol. Gotta love the sheriffs, right?
Hey, Bobby, you know what? We're going all over the place on this. Let's go now to LA. Take us to LA. Is LAPD handling it correctly? We're going to say LAPD. We're going to say the sheriffs. Bobby, it's all yours. Let's go to LA because we got 15 more minutes. Let's go to LA.
And obviously, no disrespect to any of the LAPD guys, because I know how our hands could be tied by administration, by the politicians. The first day, I have inside sources that told me they were initially delayed in their response, and there were, like I said, I have contacts who are telling me they wanted to jump in and help ICE when it started turning to shit, but they were given really stand down, back off, and you could see ICE guys, or not even ICE, because it's a combination of other officers. It's not. It's ICE,
FBI,
it's
all federal agents. Yes,
US
CDC,
Marshals.
everybody's out there.
You could see it happening, and you could see LAPD guys, as we say, biting their lip. They want to jump in, and I think they're allowed to start getting closer late that night, and then by Saturday, I think the outcry from not from the media, because the media was still telling us it was peaceful, it was all under control. I really believe that social media drives a lot. It really drives the narrative a lot. I work in media. And I've been doing interview after interview, both in English and Spanish. And then eventually, after they were saying we have everything under control, and and I'll call it what it is. The mayor of LA, she's a Marxist. She has a long history. She was part of a group that would travel to Cuba. She admired Fidel Castro, and as we would call her, she's a castrista. And eventually, I think they were shamed to play catch up. Then LA started jumping in. LASO was involved and playing catch up. Then yesterday, they finally declared a curfew a couple of days late. They probably should have done that sooner. I just feel that what happens, like Saul says, you can get these anarchists, these communists that will start engaging in violence, and then you got some other people that show up, and it's like, as we used to say, monkey see, monkey do. Then you got other people that probably would not be drawn in to that violence. Now they're doing it, and we saw it. Guys are throwing chunks of cement and rocks, and that, to me, in a regular situation, that would allow us to respond with deadly force, but there was no deadly force returning back. And the sad part, when you get a situation like this, not only is it dangerous for us, it's dangerous for the community and the public. And I almost feel that they're hoping for a tent state, something bad to happen that they can use it. And I want to commend the officers, because so far they've been able to avoid one of those moments that the news media could get a hold of, magnify it, and inflame tensions even further. And
there is one incident, though, Bobby, where I guess an Australian news reporter got hit with less than lethal. And looking at the video again, not throwing anybody under the bus, but while she's on the camera, you can see the guy in the background turn around and fire a round at her.
Yeah. I don't know.
You're always going to have guys that take advantage of the situation. You're always going to have that, Sean. We knew guys like that. And that's where the sergeant comes in and says, you know what, move them out, and you know what, get them out of there. You're always going to have.
And the LA chief is saying, yeah, we're looking into that. Yeah, But, I think, what was the comment we just had? I think he's looking at not losing his job. And he flat out, the LAPD chief flat out said, we were overwhelmed, period. That should be it. We were overwhelmed. Done.
Hey, Bobby, I think if anybody has experience with protests, I mean, remember the Rodney King protests? They screwed up. They got there late after the fact. They screwed up. But LAPD, you know what? I commend those officers. They definitely know how to handle situations like that. But I think, like you said, Bobby, at the very beginning, you know what? These people are there for a cause, and we respect whatever their beliefs are. We respect the people, but it's when these anarchists, when these guys that Saul worked with, you know what I mean? They take advantage of these people, and they just come in, and they're the ones that are inciting the riot to get worse. Do you believe, Bobby, or you guys in general, do you guys believe, one of my beliefs is the first thing they should have done, they should have immediately shut everything down, and you know what? Martial law. I mean, before it got out of control, that immediate area, why didn't LAPD put their foot down and declare martial law just for 2 or 3 days? And it doesn't have to be citywide. It could be in a certain area. Why didn't they, Bobby? What do you think?
Well, I have a couple thoughts on that.
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead, Doug.
So one of them is that California, LA, San Diego, all these cities, they came out with policies and laws years ago that forbid local law enforcement to be involved in any type of immigration, whether, we can't call Border Patrol when we come across these guys, whatever, unless we arrested them, and then we could put a hold on them. Well, then we became sanctuary states, right? And the sanctuary cities. So what's happened is that the politicians, your local politicians and your state politicians have all said, this is not a local or state issue. This is a federal issue. Only federal officers can enforce federal law and immigration laws. All of us heard that, especially Dave and Sean. You guys heard that. I don't know how many times from San Diego, right?
Yeah.
So the times now are changing, right? Now the politicians are saying that the federal government can't even come in their jurisdictions to do federal jobs. So when you've got mayors, you've got governors, you've got city council people telling the federal government, you can't come in here and do this, and then they're confronting federal officers, and the general public sees nothing happening. No one's being put in handcuffs. No one's getting arrested. That just incites the knuckleheads. So when you've got like Bass coming out and giving interviews now saying that this wouldn't have happened because there was no reason for ICE to come into our communities, completely forgetting the fact that this whole thing didn't even start over immigration. This whole thing started, ICE did search warrants on 2 businesses that were tied with the cartels that were running money and human trafficking back and forth, right, across the international line. Had nothing to do with immigration. But because it was an ICE investigation, everybody assumed that's exactly what it was. And it spiraled out of control. So when you've got your city council members who are going out protesting with these anarchists, what's that tell these people? I can do what I want to do because even my politicians are doing it. Nothing's happening to these people. And then what happens is when you get like LAPD not responding, and I'm not going to blame the officers at all, because I can imagine those officers were just chomping at the bit to jump in there, especially when they knew their federal law enforcement partners were in deep trouble.
Right.
And they're being told to stand down. Now that is an administrative problem. My issue with that is, where were the field lieutenants and commanders saying, no, that's not a lawful over, get the fuck out of the way, we're going in. You got to go in. You can't let that happen for your community and for your law enforcement partners. And then you get the opportunists, right? So now you get all these idiots are like, shit, nothing's happening. Now you're getting your looting. Now you're getting your shit set on fire. Now you're just getting knuckleheads going down there that don't really have a cause. They're just going in there. And then you guys have been talking for the evening, you get all the anarchists and all these other people. It has nothing to do with immigration anymore. Nothing. But they're going to put it on ICE. And that's the problem is there's nothing been set. Nobody's come out and said that we're going to hold these people accountable. And it comes down to these politicians and like Mayor Bass, she needs, because she said it, she incited it. She needs to get handcuffed. I'm not saying they're going to go to jail, but what I'm saying is they need to be charged with these crimes. They need to go forward. There's that city council woman. She needs to go because she was out there giving press conferences and encouraging this activity. You've got Waters, the congresswoman, going in there and trying to force her way into places that she has no business going into. She's not there for oversight. She's down there inciting issues. And unless we start addressing that at the law enforcement level and at the prosecution level, this stuff's never going to stop. It's just going to continue.
Hey, Bobby, do you foresee, hold tight, John. Bobby, do you foresee people, for example, in Chicago? Chicago has a huge Hispanic Mexican population. Do you see them learning from LA? Because on the 14th, this Saturday, there's supposed to be, according to Gordo Gordito, we were talking earlier today, texting each other. He lives in Chicago, retired cop, at 25 years of service with Chicago PD. They're expecting that type of protest. and it's going to be the Hispanic community protesting. But yet you probably have all those guys that you dealt with, Sal, Antifa, all these anti-government groups now flying to Chicago because that's a pretty big city. Do you think that they're learning from LAPD's mistake, Bobby?
No, and I have much love and respect for LAPD, Chicago PD. I've worked with guys from Chicago PD overseas, but the problem is they got the same exact problem that LA has, is the politics is so insane. They will not learn. And going back on Doug, that was a great point, Doug.
Yes.
What these politicians are doing, they are the arsonists blaming the firefighters for putting out the fires that they caused.
Yep.
That's what they're doing. And on ICE, people like to blame ICE. They think ICE only does immigration. We've had Victor Avila on our show. Victor Avila's been on the show. He was shot in San Luis Potosí. His partner was killed. Victor was working sex trafficking with minor cases, child pornography cases. And he was shot and his partner was killed. But everybody, the narrow-minded, the simpletons, just think all they do is immigration, and they're the boogeyman. Yeah. That's what they see. I don't see them learning anything from this because I feel bad for Chicago PD. Really
guys, we're gonna start winding it down, and I believe Gordo Gordito, you're absolutely right. Chicago mayor is one of the worst. But guys, we're gonna start winding it down, and we're gonna start off with you, Sal. From the very bottom, we're gonna go around. What is the solution that you think America needs to do, American cities, because these protests, they're just beginning? What needs to happen? And we're gonna go around, guys, and we're gonna end. Go ahead, Sal.
Number one, you got to watch the social media. You have to figure out what they're talking about and listen and pay attention, because that's how they communicate. Put these guys on no-fly lists, and when they start to gather, the department needs to make a decision to stop it immediately. Don't let it gain momentum. That was what the chief did here in Phoenix, and amazingly, everybody left the next day during the police brutality riots, the most recent ones. So yeah. I would say those things, social media is so important.
Doug?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you gotta work the intel, and then you gotta there's most of the citizens out there don't want this happening in their communities. I mean, the vast majority don't. But when they start seeing pallets of bricks and pallets of cinder blocks being dropped off on random corners and stuff, maybe they should call the police. Or if a police officer, I mean, if that happened on your beat, what would you do? I mean, I'd get, Public Works out there and remove that shit right away, because you know what's going to happen. And you got to start arresting people. None of this pussyfooting around anymore. You got to put people in handcuffs, and you got to put them in jail. And I don't care who it is. And this is coming from a detective that arrested a city councilman in San Diego way early in the days because they were interrupting me in my investigations. And I arrested a minister for the same thing. So you got to do it. Otherwise, it gets out of control, because once you take that spokesperson out, once you take that leader out, it's a rudderless ship. You can move that ship around to where you want it to go. And I got to do a shout out to a couple of my buddies that I was working the gang task force with up in Corona. They're still active duty. One was Border Patrol and one's with Highway Patrol, and they're both in LA, and they were taking care of business. I'm telling you right now, I got videos, I got photographs that they were sending me, and they finally got tired of what the shit was going on. And my one buddy, the Highway Patrolman, he and his squad, in a matter of an hour, took down 121 people because it just got out of control, and they were able to do it. It can be done. They put
cuffs on them. They put cuffs on them. Took them to jail.
They all got flex cuffed, and they all went to jail. And some of them went to jail for attempt murder because they're throwing shit off the highways, off the bridges, off the highways. I mean,
see, that's what needs to be done.
That's exactly what needs to be done.
And prayers for our brothers in blue. Yeah. Sean, your opinion?
This has been going on for years. We've allowed this to happen. We've given them the validation that they can do whatever they want, destroy anything that they want, and there's no consequences. Speaking of social media, look at nokings.org. They've got a map where all these protests, like you said, on June 14th are supposed to happen. You know, there's 4 of them scheduled for Riverside, Doug.
Yeah.
Riverside County, right? So far, I've seen posted one guy with one sign in Temecula.
Not with that sheriff and those chiefs of police have
Oh,
never
hell no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but you know what? Like Saul said, and Doug, nip it in the bud. Get it, you know, as long as they're peaceful and fun,
Yeah.
you know, fine. Once you start some shit, game over. Done.
Bobby, last comment.
Totally agree with him. Is that as when I watch some of the film clips where they're arresting somebody and somebody will run up, grab an officer to try to pull him off, that person needs to go right now. Don't push him away. You know, Saul and I work walking beat, uniform walking beat in the city housing projects. And when we would try to arrest somebody and somebody would do that to us, there's people running around, old OGs like us, but criminals with Motorola stamped across their forehead to this day. So that we did not put up with that bullshit back then. And the other thing, from the investigative side, I saw a piece of investigation that showed what Saul says. They're flying in from everywhere. I'm a wiretap guy. Look at those phones, and you will see whenever there's a protest in New York, Chicago, those phones are pinging everywhere. They're just rotating around because they're transient protesters. It just needs to come to an end. And but at the same time, I support the right to protest, free speech, but it has to be peaceful.
And Sal, once again, brother, thank you very much for being on our show. And let me just explain the reason why he's masked up, guys. It isn't that he's afraid to show his face, even though he's a good-looking guy. I don't know why he doesn't have a mask. He has a mask on. But the reason why he has a mask on the serious side is because he's still, even though he's retired, doing undercover work for various agencies. We're going to leave it at that. And for his protection, he's still doing undercover work. That's why he's masked up. Saul, mil gracias for sharing your testimony, sharing your experiences. Mil gracias, brother, and prayers for you and your familia.
Igualmente. Prayers
Good
for all of
summer,
you guys.
Thank you, brother. And guys, I didn't get a chance, but my suggestion, my recommendation, number one, martial law immediately. As soon as it starts breaking out, LAPD right now has a curfew. I would marshal it down in that certain area. The second thing, those that are protesting, police yourselves. If you know those that are in charge of these protests, that you see these anarchist groups, take care of it yourself. I'm not saying to beat them down, but let me tell you what Compton did. Ruben Nava, our chaplain, put a video out, I believe today, to another group that I belong to, where we talk about, things that are going on in America. And he showed us a video where these guys from Compton, basically, they got all the gangs. This united the gangs, Bobby, in Compton, blacks and browns. And they basically formed a skirmish line. And they go, you're not coming into our neighborhood. You're not going to mess up our stores. You're not going to mess up our quetas. You're not going to beat up our eloteros. You know what? You come here, we're here. And they united all the gangs. So you know what? They can police themselves without a doubt. They can police themselves. Bobby, it was an outstanding episode today. We got a chance to really talk. And guys, let me just show this real quick. Let me bring this up. Next week, we're not having a show on the 18th because we're all going to be together. All of us are going to be with Benny and with Chalo, all 6 of us, and we're going to talk about PTSD, a serious problem, not only in the law enforcement community, in the military community, in the community in general. And next week, we're going to unveil our new video where we're going to be showing photos of our forgotten heroes. These gentlemen that you see here, one of them it's somebody that's watching the show. It's his father who committed suicide. Another one was an assistant director of a major prison in Nebraska, committed suicide. Another is a female correctional officer out of Soledad, committed suicide the day that we talked about this video coming out. PTSD is real. This other brother right here, a San Diego police officer that committed suicide in his patrol car. I'm telling you, the song that we picked is from Jelly Roll. You guys are going to, every month, we're going to honor our forgotten heroes that basically, through their pain and agony they were suffering, took their own lives. But we're never going to allow the world to forget our forgotten heroes. That's going to be next week. And then the following week on the 25th, Bobby, I got the call today from, as soon as he hung up with you, Hector Beleres. He's going to be on the show. Can you talk to us of what he's going to be talking about on the 25th?
Hector is a legendary DEA agent. And before my time, and all the guys that knew him before say he was a unmatched undercover guy. Got involved in some really hairy undercover deals back the generation before I got there. But he was an inspiration for DEA agents Richard Foss to join DEA. They grew up together. He knew Richie since he was a kid. So we're going to use that as a in memory of Richard Foss, and Hector's going to share some of his stories and memories of Richard Foss, who was killed in line of duty June 30th, 1994. So I'm excited to have him. We had a really good talk, and excited to have him on the show.
I talked to him earlier today. He's excited of talking to him. And then I was telling him, Bobby, that how you knew Richard, and he was telling me that you worked with his brother Art.
Yes,
who was a DEA agent. Did you know that was his brother?
I never made the connection because I didn't know Art by his last name.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden when he said Art, I knew. I used to go into Richie's office, and the three of us would sit there and hang out and shoot the shit, go and eat together. Yeah.
I'll tell you, Hector's going to be a great show because all he's going to talk about is his experiences with Richard Foss, a forgotten hero that we're never going to allow the world to forget. With that said, Bobby, last words.
Thanks for everyone showing up, and just pray for everybody out there. You know, our law enforcement, our military people, and the civilians out there. You know, there's a lot of civilians out here I know that are out there for good intentions, and we know how these things get hijacked. And just pray for that nobody gets hurt out there, and this thing can end hopefully without any more violence.
Amen. Sean?
Blessings to the LAPD, the ICE guys, the military guys that are out there, National Guard guys. You know what? Our prayers are with you. Hang tight. This will blow over. This will blow over. And just be safe.
And Big Doug, are you in a hotel right now? Because I know that you were having some problems with the internet. Are you on your way back to San Diego?
We are. We're actually in a small town in Iowa. And we were at a winery. It's closed,
okay.
but they let us camp out here. So I got a trailer here, and right now it's just me, Kim, and the dog in this winery. So I had to run down the hill from where we're camping to get the log in there free Wi-Fi because I couldn't catch it up there, and it was giving me issues.
I know. Right before the show, you tried to log on, and I clicked you on, but there was no picture.
Yeah.
So I go, you know what? He's definitely in a hotel somewhere in America.
Yeah, what happened is that it wouldn't let me log on because I was the service provider for my phone wouldn't let me log on. It was blocking my camera and my mic. So when I ran down and was able to log onto Wi-Fi, it said, "Oh, okay, you're on a Wi-Fi network." You're not some knucklehead, I guess. I don't know how that works. But
Doug, any last words for our listeners and for our law enforcement that are out there right now working?
Yeah, guys, just watch your six. Keep an eyes on your partners. Do what you got to do to be safe and go home at night. And then for the community people too, watch after your neighbors, watch after your businesses, because a lot of these times in these small communities, those small businesses they get looted and burned and stuff. They never come back. And now you're missing, your local little pharmacy, your little drugstore, your little markets that you always went to get to your gallon of milk is no longer going to be there. So watch for your neighbors and your family.
Amen. And guys, we will see you next. Go ahead, Bobby.
One last thing I'll say is I have somebody very dear to my heart. I won't identify him, but we'll continue praying for him. He's on the sheepdog side, and he's right down there at ground zero. After it's all over, I'll identify who it is. But obviously, been following the news very closely, and I'll leave it at that.
Very good.
He's in our prayers, Bobby.
He
Thank
is.
you.
Light a candle for him.
Thank
Yep.
you. Thank you.
And you know what? Don't forget, you know what? Live a purpose-driven life. Live every day like it's your last day on this earth. And remember, keep LA community, the people in LA, keep them in your prayers. Keep our brothers in blue. When I say brothers in blue, green, yellow, whatever, our law enforcement brothers and sisters, keep them in your prayers. And you know what? I'm going to end the show with one of our favorite songs, God's Country. Because at the end of the day, you know what? We're blessed to be United States citizens. We're blessed to be in America. And you know what? At the end of the day, thank you, Jesus, for allowing us to be U.S. citizens. Thank you, and God bless you.
Bless. Good night.
Outside of this one church town, there's a gold dirt road to a whole lot of nothing. Got a deed to the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country. We pray for rain and thank him when it's falling, 'cause it brings a grain and a little bit of money. We put it back in a plate, I guess that's why they call it God's country. I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting baptized in holy water and shine with the dogs running. Saved by the sound of a pin-found Dixie whistle in the wind, that'll get you heaven bound. The devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country. We turn the dirt and work until the week's done. We take a break and break bread on Sunday, then do it all again, 'cause we're proud to be from God's country. I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting baptized in holy water and shine with the dogs running. Saved by the sound of a pin-found Dixie whistle in the wind, that'll get you heaven bound. The devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country. God's country. I don't care what my headstone reads or what kind of pine wood box I end up in. When it's my time, lay me 6 feet deep in God's country.